I want to talk to you about the Federal Trade Commission privacy rule. The Federal Trade Commission privacy rule applies to buy here, pay here dealers that extend credit to someone in connection with the purchase of a motor vehicle. It applies to dealers that arrange financing through a third-party lender to finance or lease a vehicle or provide any type of financial advice or counseling to an individual purchasing or leasing a motor vehicle. If you, as a dealer, engage in these activities, any personal information that you collect from the customer is covered by the Federal Trade Commission privacy rule. Examples of personal information include someone's name, their address, phone number, or other type of information that could be used to identify them. The Federal Trade Commission privacy rule applies to you if you collect personal information about someone in connection with the potential financing or leasing of a car, even if that person does not fill out a formal application. The privacy rule does not apply to you if a person buys a vehicle with cash or arranges financing on their own through another lender that you are not involved with. I want to talk about the privacy notice. The privacy notice, you don't need a privacy notice to someone who simply expresses an interest in buying a car or asks general questions about financing or leasing. However, if a person gives you personal information in connection with a potential motor vehicle purchase, such as allowing you to run a credit check, even without completing a formal application, you may need to provide a written privacy notice. Whether or not you provide a customer a privacy notice depends on whether the customer is a consumer or a customer. A person becomes a consumer when he or she gives you personal information when exploring financing or leasing a car from you, such as only running a credit check. You only need to give them a privacy notice and the opt-out notice, which I'll talk about in a second, if you intend to disclose their personal information to non-affiliated third parties. If someone enters into a contract with you to buy a vehicle and you extend them credit or arrange for a third-party lender to extend them credit, then they become your customer. When a customer has entered a lease agreement to lease a vehicle from you, they become your customer as well. Whether leasing or arranging credit, you must give them a privacy notice at the time of signing of the retail installment contract or the lease agreement, even if you do not disclose their personal information to others. If you lease cars and the initial term of the lease is at least 90 days, the privacy rule applies to you as well. If you want to send flyers or, say, for example, a holiday greeting to all your customers, you don't need to give them an opt-out notice as long as you don't distinguish between those who financed or leased and those who did not, such as someone that paid cash. A list of all your customers without referencing whether they financed a vehicle or paid cash for the vehicle falls outside of the privacy rule, as long as the list was not derived from information about how they obtained the vehicle they purchased from you. If you are only mailing, say, for example, a flyer or holiday greeting to customers that finance vehicles, then the privacy rule does apply. Third-party financing. You must give a privacy notice at the time the borrower signs the retail installment contract, even if you are providing financing through a third-party lender. Once the retail installment contract is assigned to a third-party lender, you no longer have a customer relationship with the borrower, and you are no longer required to provide the annual privacy notice to this person. However, you are still bound by the terms of the initial privacy policy that you gave the person, and you must continue to honor any type of opt-out request that you have received. When you are financing vehicles through a third-party lender, that lender now has a customer relationship with the individual borrower. Since the customer relationship was not established at the customer's election, the third-party lender must deliver its privacy notice to the customer within a reasonable time after it buys the contract from you. Alternatively, if the third-party lender is known when the customer signs the retail installment contract, that lender may arrange to have the dealer give the lender's privacy notice to the customer when the dealer gives out its notice. Your third-party lender will let you know about this. In addition, the third-party lender must give the customer an annual notice for as long as the customer relationship continues. If you're using a third-party lender to finance vehicles for your customers, which many of you are, make sure the third-party lender clarifies its annual privacy notice responsibilities. If you are a buy here, pay here dealer and you never reassign loans to a third-party lender, for example, you service all of your loans in-house, the people remain your customers, and you need to give them an initial privacy notice, an opt-out notice if applicable, along with the annual notice for as long as the customer relationship lasts. If you're a buy here, pay here dealer, you run a credit check and decide not to finance the vehicle to the customer, the person whose application for credit has been denied is considered a consumer, not a customer. And therefore, you do not have to give them privacy notice as long as you do not share their personal information. When you send a customer's application for financing to a third-party lender, the lender can give you information about why the loan was denied, so you may pass that information along to the customer. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act permits the third-party lender to disclose the reasons for not approving a customer loan to the car dealer when the dealer submits a credit application for the third-party lender on behalf of the consumer. The Federal Trade Commission maintains a page that you can link to that contains fillable privacy notice for the convenience of you and your customers. As you can see right here, here's a link to that fillable privacy notice that you can see right here. You know, when you're filling this out, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you want to make sure, that you do include all the information in the what section. There's actually 2 pages. You also want to make sure that you clarify your phone number, your dealership website address, and then you also want to make sure where, let the customer know exactly where you are going to be sharing information. So make sure and complete this. This is an important part of any dealer that is assisting a customer with financing, whether you are a buy here, pay here dealer, whether you are leasing vehicles, or whether you are basically brokering loans to a third party financer, then all of these rules will apply.